All right, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you all are this world. Welcome to our first client panel webinar or discussion around transformation and project and service for customers using TopLeft. And so welcome to everyone, to our facilitator Bjorn, our panelists Steve and Judy who are joining today. Sarah cannot be with us. And to our attendees, thank you for making some time today. Quick housekeeping before we jump into this. This is structured as a 30-minute conversation, and we'll do our best to weave in some questions from the attendees, so you can pop those into the Q&A or the chat, and we'll weave those in. And recording will be sent out afterwards as well. You can look for that email to pass on to colleagues or other people you know. And we'll have about 15 minutes of Q&A as well at the end. So that'll be there. And at the very end, I'll come back and take this back from Bjorn and share something special at the end and offer for you as well. So I'm excited to introduce Bjorn Zhrelov, I believe, from Vandella, who is helping out in this role of facilitator. So welcome, Bjorn. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Wim. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to do my best to facilitate, and then some great stories from Steve and Judy. And I enjoy community type discussions in general, whether they're the few numbers that are here today or user groups or what have you. So I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to getting to know Steve and hearing some more stories, and Judy seeing some of the visual things that she has to show us today too. So we did get to meet a little bit ahead of this and talk a little bit, and it was really amazing in a short period of time, the experience that is available to us today, and I look forward to hearing some transformations that have happened using Kanban. And I love that concept of unlocking your project and service flow. So let's get unstuck together to the best we can. So with the amount of time in mind, we're not going to be able to cover everything that these guys know, but let's get into it a little bit and ask for their intros, and I want you to hear their voices. Judy, do you mind kicking us off from where you are, I guess in the Northwest still? You're still in Seattle?
I'm still in Seattle, sure thing. Hello, everybody. My name is Judi Baker. I am in the Seattle, Washington area. I work for a company called Seitel Systems, and been here as a service desk manager for 8 years. We've been using TopLeft now just a little over 3 years. We started using it February, just before we went into COVID.
That's right. That's right. Was that a good thing? Was that a sign of the times, or what was that all about? It just happened, right?
It was a great thing. And I think that because we were all working from home, it did absolutely force us to get on the phone and do we called it a service desk huddle. We do every morning meeting at 8:45 Pacific Standard Time to meet with my team. And so it was perfect.
And how many people are on that team in that huddle typically?
Well, we have about 10 people.
Yeah. 10 person huddle. I'm always curious to hear, huddles are incredibly powerful, and there's many different ways to implement them, but the number of people and how effective can be, varies, right? So good stuff. Glad you're here, and we'll definitely come back to you and we'll talk about the specifics or some transformations. So
okay.
Thank you for getting us kicked off. Steve, who is joining us from Orlando, but he's a native of somewhere much further away, Australia. So Steve, welcome. If you wouldn't mind also giving us an intro, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks, Brian. Steve Psaradellis here from TEBA. Yes, we are based in Australia. I'm currently in Orlando, just may or may not be visiting Disney World. Side. And we run an MSP in the eastern side of Australia. And we've been running the MSP for 25 years now. And about 5 years ago, we came across TopLeft. And so we've been running it for the last 5 years. And looking forward to chatting about it in this panel.
Awesome. Yeah, well, and you're committed to this power of Kanban. You're sharing and joining us on vacation, I'm assuming. So that's a big commitment.
I'm here for a conference.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're mixing work with pleasure. That's the way to do it, right?
Yep.
Well, good stuff. So lots of experience, with Judi being, 8 years in her role, and Steve, in the MSP space, probably before it was called the MSP space. I think I said that yesterday, and to somebody like, 25 years is a long time. So it's good stuff. So for our first sort of attempt at extracting a transformational story, I was going to point to Judi and Wim, if and really pull up that screenshot that Judi has so kindly shared with us. Picture's worth 1,000 words, but it's best, in my opinion, when you have a story to go with the picture, right? So if you wouldn't mind, oh yeah, we were going to do the poll, weren't we? Let's do that first. Let's go back, Wim. We have the opportunity to do that. This is a discussion. We can always, so to get you guys that are on the call here, let's throw up a poll and get you guys engaged a little bit. All right, here it is. It should be there for you. So how many WIP tickets? So a big thing in Kanban is reduce the number of in progress work, right? And so there's focus, as I understand it. So if you guys could answer that, what's the number of WIP tickets that you have, or what's the greatest number that you have with notes entered, regardless of ticket status? And get some answers on that. 50 to 100, okay. All right, oh my God, is there another question here? Ma'am? Let's go to the next one. What's the most hours that you've had on a ticket ever? What's the record setter? And while we're waiting for the poll, I'll ask Steve. Steve, and what's your record setter?
Oh, I don't remember, but it's in the hundreds.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds. Hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours, yes.
On one ticket.
Yep. That was a long time ago, but yep.
Wow. What was the nature of that ticket?
It was it was part of a project, but it just dragged on and on and on. Yeah. This is about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. That's significant.
Mm-hmm.
Judi, what about you? Anything that sticks out?
No, but I'm gonna confess, I don't know that I know necessarily how many hours we worked on a ticket, but I can tell you we've had tickets open for longer than 90 days, which is a little embarrassing. Yeah,
and age is not always the deciding factor, but it certainly is a factor. It can be a big factor depending on the expectations that were set. Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue on. Now that we'll jump forward now done that. Is that poll still running, Wim? Do you want to?
Still running.
Okay.
For a few more responses.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we'll continue. We'll go to that picture, the screenshots. So, and Judi was kind enough to send us this screenshot, and as you're in your role of service manager, what does this screen mean to you? Now, let's give how is that part of your transformational story as a service desk manager?
Yeah, so when we first started with using TopLeft, we kind of had to go back to the basics, and we really had to discuss what it means to have a ticket that is brand new, and what does it mean for a ticket to be ready to work. And so we kind of re-identified all of our statuses, so that our statuses in ConnectWise were also working in TopLeft. And so we had to kind of, I hate to say revamp, but re-engineer, but we really did have to kind of rethink about how we were going to do business on a day-to-day basis, and how that was going to work together for TopLeft. And so as we thought about this, in this particular screenshot, it is showing our backlog, which is a brand new ticket. Our dispatch team has not touched the ticket as of yet. And when the ticket moves from new into ready to work, there's a conversation that we're having with our client before we even move it to ready to work. And so that conversation is something along the lines of like, hey, thanks for your ticket. Could you tell us a good time for us to contact you? Because what we were finding was, great that you opened up the ticket with us, but now we're going to play that telephone tag. I mean, I think we've all kind of been there where, well, we get the ticket, great, and then we call you and you're busy. And so what we developed was, let's set an appointment for when we are going to meet with you. And once the client tells us that I'm available today between 1 and 3, then we move that ticket into ready to work, or we actually put it into schedule. It just kind of depends on how the client responds to us. And so when I'm looking at this particular board, I'm looking for what are our top priorities? What's the urgencies there? I'm looking at the banners to see how close are we to not succeeding on our SLA. That's a pain point of mine. I get a little sweaty when I see my tickets that are coming close to the SLA expiration date. And so I'm looking at the different banners for SLA and when was the last time someone touched the ticket or made a comment about a ticket, how long has it been sitting there in that ready to work area.
So in this screen where you're saying it, you're looking at the banners just for, I'm gonna play the a guy who has no clue what's going on here for a second. So what does that mean? What does a banner mean?
Well, okay, so I really should have started off with they're actually cards, right? And so within the card, within the ticket you get the ticket number and the summary of the ticket and then the client name, and just under that we have, you might see the first one there is orange with an orange line across it.
Right.
And then there's a couple of them that are red. Each of them are to identify or give me an idea of the work that needs to be done on the ticket or how long we've been waiting on the ticket. Red is meaning that it's very close to
not good,
not making me very happy.
Yeah, red is bad. Yeah.
It means that I'm a little sweaty when I am looking at this particular screenshot, but yes.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, again, it's all about the visualization, right? Or at least, that's one of the key factors or key ideas here is you visually see things, and obviously you need a legend to begin with, just kind of understand what all the possibilities are. Yeah. But it's definitely and all the different counters that are important and the colors. It's amazing how much is in that one card, so to speak, right? So. Yeah. Why don't we, Steve? I know this is not your system, right? But in your case, one thing that Judi said, in the backlog, do you call it backlog or do you call it something else?
The queue. We just have a queue.
Perfect. So, for me, it's all about inputs and outputs of each. How does it go from the queue to the next stage, right? And one of the things we talked about last week was how much time you guys how much time you've spent and defined your processes so that something can move, is quote unquote approved to move. Judi said, hey, I need to have this conversation with the client first. That's what they've decided to do before they move it. I call that the triage process, right? What are the parameters of the triage process so that I can move from stage 1 to stage 2, whatever you call it, right? So let's just say, what is your transformational story around that? I mean, how have you documented and trained your team on those parameters? How do you make sure those parameters or those checklists get done?
Yeah, if I can start with how we actually implemented it in the first place.
Yeah.
So when we were sort of looking at visualizing our work, we found another tool actually that allowed us to visualize our work, but it didn't connect to ConnectWise. We've been running ConnectWise since 2006, I think. And we were busy writing connectors and APIs and all that sort of fun stuff to get this tool to work. And then my service delivery manager accidentally stumbled across what was then known as CW Kanban, which was ConnectWise Kanban. And he said, hey, Steve, there's software out there that already does this. It's connected to ConnectWise. So we went, great. So we dumped our project and actually started implementing CW Kanban. The important steps we took was we actually took our team through the process of why we were implementing a Kanban system, why we needed visualization, and they actually got involved in the process of us determining the different queues, the different columns, and the different statuses, effectively. And each role had a different workflow. So, for example, our service delivery manager has a different queuing system. She triages the tickets, and determines what level of engineer is required. So her job is to put it in the right queue so the right person gets it. Where the engineers obviously have things that they could choose from, or things that are scheduled. Like Judi sort of pointed to that fact, like, hey, we look at the ticket, and depending on sort of feedback the client gets, it's either going to be pick it off a queue, or it's going to be scheduled at a particular time when they're available. So we develop the systems and processes with our team. Now, what was good about that is we documented that effectively in a PowerPoint presentation. So whenever we bring new team members on board, I just run them back through what we did in those workshops. Now, it takes a hell of a lot less time because it took us weeks and weeks to actually develop our processes. And by the time we found what's now TopLeft, we were ready to go. But new people, it takes half an hour now to go through that PowerPoint.
Yeah, and so and going back to one of the words you said is process, right? So people, process, technology. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? The three-legged stool, or whatever the analogy you want to use. And the most important resource we have, at least from my perspective, are the people. And we want to develop processes and procedures that they feel like they can be useful and productive. And then we want systems to support those processes, right? So getting the people involved in the beginning, the contextualization process it's rare, at least in my experience, and I'll dovetail to you, Judi, here and ask you the same thing, is it's rare that companies or organizations want to spend that much time up front to sort of get the contextualization, get everybody on board, right? And so, Judi, can you talk to that a little bit about your implementation of how did you go from, hey, the before picture, right, of, hey, we don't have Kanban, we want to go there. What was your sort of implementation approach as far as contextualization or not?
Yeah, no, we definitely had that. I think, if I'm being honest, a few years ago, we just didn't know what we didn't know. We knew we were missing something. We knew we were flailing, right? We were certainly doing a great job at the work that we were doing, but responding to tickets and getting to them in a timely fashion and closing them, it wasn't a priority for us. And it really did lead back to, it was actually our project manager with our company, and he was aware of the book, The Phoenix Project. He listened to it on audio, and he recommended everybody in our leadership team to listen to it. Our managing partner was also very strongly a participant in all of this. Actually, he kind of led it, and that we all decided as leadership that we wanted to be better. And so we started working with TopLeft and learned about it, and then working with Matt to make sure that we were implementing it correctly, I guess is the best way to say that. And so just the encouragement of thinking about how we wanted to do it and making our business better. But to Steve, we definitely met on a very regular basis. Like, I met with my team. I still meet with my team every day. We still have hurdles, and we will discuss how we're going to get past it and what obstacles are in our way and how can we make our processes better. And so, yes, we've been doing TopLeft for 3 years, but I will also tell you that we continue to strive and be better every day. And so for us, it's really comes down to having that conversation with our teammates to make how we're going to do things better.
Yeah, and so I love what you said about it's sort of we are a work in progress, and what I have picked up through conversation with you and other Kanban resources, it's that one of the core principles, and you guys correct me on this, Steve, I'll turn to you for this, is one of the core principles of Kanban, I think, is sort of that idea of continuous iterative improvement, right? And that's kind of where it comes from, is to continuously evaluate and get feedback. And one of the principles, I think, is every single person in the organization, regardless of their role / position, level, whatever you want to say, is a leader, in the sense that I am, at least how I understood it, is I have the authority, feel like I have the backing to suggest improvements and incremental improvements. And there's a process for that. So Steve, if you wouldn't mind addressing sort of the mindset change, really pre-Kanban to, hey, we are now a Kanban organization. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, interesting. Last month, actually, we 2 months ago, we got a new service delivery manager. And last month he said, listen, I need to be able to track projects in a particular way. Our service delivery manager also behaves as a project manager. And I said, well, why don't you set up some sort of dashboard so you can get those metrics that you want? Coincidentally, we reached out to the guys at TopLeft just to get a bit of an update on features. And we got a 1 hour update on everything that was new. And our service delivery manager actually went away and found that in the projects view, he got everything he needed. He did not need a new dashboard. So he just messaged me the next day and said, it's done. And I said, what's done? He goes, no, I've got the dashboard I need. I go, well, what tool did you use? He said, TopLeft. I went, oh, okay. He goes, no, everything we need is in that tool. So he uses TopLeft now to track projects the way he wants to track them. So literally 24 hours after showing him the tool, he already implemented a dashboard that he needed. So
yeah,
always improve.
Yeah, constantly, yeah. And the other question that comes to mind right now is, the before and after picture, right? So before TopLeft and after TopLeft, or before Kanban and after with Kanban. Judi, if team were to come to you and say, you know what, we can't use Kanban anymore, we can't use TopLeft, you have to figure out some other way to do it, what would be your reaction?
Can I just say, tough luck, you're using Kanban?
Yeah. Okay.
Truthfully, I would ask them what are their objections with using TopLeft.
Sure.
And I would want them to show me why they feel that TopLeft isn't a great option. Because for me, I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't even know how to say this, but TopLeft was a game changer for us. I mean, and it really did change things in our workplace, and we just are such a better company because of it.
Yeah, and it's the tool, and like with any tool, you have to have the mindset shift, the processes according how are we going to change, and everybody has to get on board, right? Adoption. Why don't we go to the next screen where it has the technicians on it, right? So this is your view, and and so you're using that for one reason and one use case, but then you also indicated that you drill down into this technician view. Why do you go to this view? What's your use case?
Well, so for me, it's looking at what is my individual technicians doing. So I'm going into their swim lanes and looking at the work that they're doing. So in this particular technician, I can see that he has 2 active tickets, and he's got 5 block tickets and a couple of scheduled tickets. So what this is telling me is that right at this current moment in time, this is letting me know that he's actively working on 2 tickets. And when those 2 tickets are done, if he does everything correctly, it's going to move over to the closed and be resolved. And then he's going to likely go to his scheduled. What's nice about the scheduled is that it's already a time on his calendar that he's going to do the work. And so when he is done with these 2 that are in his active, he will go on to his scheduled. And then when the scheduled are done, he'll go look for, okay, is there something in my blocked lane that I can do something with? So for me, this is really just letting me know what is on his plate for today.
As far as his capacity, or this person's capacity, is there an easy way for you to say, well, I need to fill up his backlog, or this person's backlog?
Yeah, he looks a little light today, doesn't he?
All right, I kind of figured. So Steve, on this screen, the one of the tenets of Kanban and TopLeft is how many active tickets should one person be working, quote unquote, have active at any given time. So how does your organization define active tickets or in progress tickets today?
Yeah, so we have a work in progress limit of 3. So you can only work on 1 ticket at a time. Obviously, we know that multitasking doesn't truly work. But yeah, they should only be working on 3, and then once they finish one, they're allowed to put another one in progress. I'm not sure if it was in Judy's other screenshot, but ours will flash red in the column if they go over the allotted thresholds that we put in each column. So if they've got too many in the backlog, it'll go red. If they've got too many in progress, it'll go red. And for me, for my service delivery manager at least, he doesn't have to worry about everything that's happening. He can manage by exception. And really, that's what I think service delivery managers need to do, because there's obviously too many tickets to be looking at all of them. And a smoothly running ticket should be just left alone. So whenever there's red in either the column or in a ticket, that's a trigger for the service delivery manager to take action. I go and look at this as the business owner just occasionally. And, you know, if I see minimal red, everything's running fine. If I see a little bit of extra red, that's a topic to bring up in the management meeting. So for me, it's the indicators that are important.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one, just again, we'll flip to the next screen just to get a different view.
There's some blood in the water. Thanks for that screenshot.
Yeah, there's some blood in the water. Yeah, so I mean, this again, it's just a visual indicator. We got the 3, but yeah, it's the ready to work that have some screaming going on or some noise going on. So, you know, Judi, are the individual put yourself in the technician's shoes on this screen, excuse me. Are they actually, they're actually working this screen, correct? This is their core screen that they're going into. They're not sitting in ConnectWise. So maybe talk to that, you know, how much time do they actually spend in the PSA versus in this view?
They should be doing a lot of their work. I would say 80% of their time is here on this view, or in the general queue for TopLeft. We strongly encourage everybody on our team to use TopLeft. So in this case, I would say, you know, the reason why there are those that are ready to work, it's because they grabbed those tickets before they really should have. Probably because we were incredibly busy and they wanted to get tickets moving quickly. And so they have theirs in the active. And to Steve's point, we only also allow for 3 because you really can only do 1 at a time, but we do allow for the 3 because maybe you're going to kind of bounce between the 2 of them or 3 of them. So yes, there is some screaming going on here in this particular view, and that is why I showed it, because I would love to show you that we're just perfect and we do everything great, but we're human beings and we get busy, and so it's also important to show that we also have some improvement to do.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's nothing's perfect, in my opinion anyway, and you got to have the guideposts and the bells and whistles and whatever you need to help you kind of stay on track, right? Just because there's red doesn't mean that the wheels have completely fallen off. It's just, hey, this is an opportunity to look at why, the root cause analysis, and determine what changes do we need to make to hopefully avoid this in the future, right?
Yes.
But yeah, that's great. Perfect. I guess, kind of to wrap us up here, we're right at the 30-minute mark. Steve, rapid fire, what's the biggest outcome result for you and your organization of using TopLeft?
Just to be able to visualize everything very quickly. In ConnectWise, we had no clue what was going on. Seriously, we'd look at lists of tickets and you'd sort them and resort them and resort them, and you'd still be looking at nothing, literally. Here, I can literally glance at anyone's queue. Within 2 seconds, I can tell you what's going on. It just takes 2 seconds. I look for the red, I look for the amber, and I look at where they are, and I'm done. So it's that ability to manage by visualization rather than drawing your eyes through lists and trying to work out what's going on.
Yeah, perfect. Judi, same question. What's the biggest outcome result?
We're more efficient. The visualization has improved our work drastically because, like Steve said, we can just look real quickly in our queues into any of our TopLeft boards and get a very quick understanding of what's going on.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we have some time for some Q&A, so why don't we go into that direction now? I have one question here. Seems to work well for help desk, but how about field work by engineers, which seems to have a different workflow? So great question, and we could talk about this for a while. But Steve, do you want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, look, generally our field work is scheduled. So basically, the person knows where they're supposed to be, between approximately this time and that time. So this becomes a little less relevant. Obviously, you can access this from any mobile device, anything with a browser works. So generally, engineers will look at their diary if they've got field work for that day. This is less relevant for field work, for us at least.
Okay. Judi, what about you? I know field work is changing, and certainly has rapidly changed over the last few years. I'm not going to mention the reason for that. We've all heard it. What about how does it apply to field for you?
So we actually create work centers for our engineers. And so kind of based on territory a little bit. And so we'll have part of our work center could be 3 engineers that are part of that specific work center. And so the board is then set up based on the work center and the geographical clients that are within that area, all feed onto a particular board. And then the engineers are able to see the tickets that are ready to work, and they can move them either into scheduled and or active. We also have scheduled support. And so obviously they should be doing a lot of their tickets during scheduled support, but when they're not at a client site, they are able to use TopLeft to see the work that needs to be done and move it to the correct.
Okay. So you're using this basically the same flow for the field folks as well. It's the same concept, right? Yeah.
Yes. Same concept for our projects that we do as well.
Yeah. I mean, and that's interesting. You said that in work centers, that could be a topic in itself. What caused you to move into work centers and 3-person teams, but that's great. So another question that we talked about that I see here is, was there any, adding another tool to the mix is always a question, right? Oh no, not another tool. We already have this. We already have ConnectWise. Why don't we we're just not using that better? Or we have Autotask, or we have some other, we already have enough tools. Stop. Don't talk to me about another tool. Steve, I mean, was that an issue at all for you guys as far as adding another tool to your stack, or how did you guys overcome that?
Actually, it was because engineers were at least initially going, but we just work out of ConnectWise. And the answer we gave them is, you can work out of ConnectWise, and please still work out of ConnectWise if you want, but this tool takes ConnectWise information and displays it in a better way. That's basically what it is. So TopLeft does not add data. It adds a way of interpreting that data that just ConnectWise and other things can't do. So yes, we had that initial objection to another tool. It seems to be that managers love it, coordinators absolutely love it, and the engineers use it as required. Right? So they're, if that makes sense, but it really helps the whole team to get a view of what's going on. So yes, initially there was that sort of pushback, another tool, until they saw what it actually was.
Right. Judi, what about you?
Oh, we definitely had some pushback.
In what form did that come?
We don't want to use another tool. Don't make us do something different.
Right.
We barely like using the ticketing system. So yeah, of course we got pushback. That's crazy to think that everybody be like, oh, of course we want to do something different. But truthfully, they did start to see value in using TopLeft. And when you're able to look at one screen, go to the board, and you see one thing, and you see everything in one quick picture, that's what started to win the team over, when they started realizing that we were meeting on a daily basis, and we were trying to figure out how to overcome objections, how to make the process just easier. When they started really being part of that process, that's what won them over, because it was no longer about, oh, this is how you're going to do it, and you have to do it this way. But we had that conversation, and all of a sudden, when a technician was like, oh, what if we tried it this way? And I'm like, that is a great idea. Let's try that. Let's see how that's going to work for us. And we would do it for a few days to a week. And if we still had pain points, we would make more changes. And if it worked out great, we kept it and we continue doing it the way that works out great for everybody on the team.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, going back to that principle of iteratively and getting better, right? Perfect. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there unless we see any more questions. And thank you both. I know we could continue talking for a while, but we got other things that we all have. Some people have amusement parks to go make sure they get visited. And Judi has, I'm sure, some folks waiting on her to help them make sure they get the red out. Yeah, and so we'll thank you both for the conversation today, and hopefully we get to chat again soon. And I'll turn it back over to Wim to kind of wrap us up here a little bit and tell you guys about the special.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you to all three of you, to Bjorn and to Steve and Judi, for your willingness and engagement and passion behind this and sharing your stories and where your heart is at. And really, it's the people, respect for people and the value they bring. Mm-hmm. That's underneath all the lean, agile Kanban, is getting ideas from them, getting to see it the right way, remove waste, small improvements every day. So love that you guys are living that culture, and it's a decision every day. So thank you for that. The offer we have today announcement is, if you're not a client and are considering TopLeft and like what you heard today and you want to get into a trial in the next week, we'll waive the $2.99 setup fee. So you get a free trial and free setup after that. We will still provide a concierge onboarding, so we get you a one-on-one call to help set up your boards, dial them in, as Steve and Judi have, so you can start really strong, visualizing what's going on, the bottlenecks, and what's falling between the cracks. You've seen some of the colors, the red, the different things. So getting that, at least for a good enough to now train your team and get them into it every day in your daily huddles, your weekly meetings, etc. So you can book the demo and get into that trial. And then the other thing is, client or not a client, is we do have an Agile MSP training day coming up. So taking these things that Steve and Judi are already doing, the concepts behind it, so we walk through that for kind of an introduction session. There's be one specifically for service management, another one for project management, and then for technicians. So you can bring your whole team to this for, normally it sells for $750, but if you're acting on this like by Monday, in the next few days, we'll do that for $500. It's a huge value. We'll give you the recordings as well. So that's about 5 hours of content, all online. And we're actually bringing in one of our bootcamp speakers from last year as well. So Steve spoke at our Agile MSP bootcamp, and we had our keynote was Melvin from the UK, who's an expert on Agile, Kanban, and many other things. So he'll be coming on as well to help facilitate and deliver some of that content. So I'm looking forward to that again as well. So drop an email to sales and we will get that set up for you. And that's what we have there. So thank you everyone for attending. Thanks again to our panelists. I see one last minute question there. Do we want to get that one, Bjorn?
Yeah, let's grab that. That's a good question. You go for it.
Yeah. So the question Kathy has is around, does TopLeft replace or integrate with ServiceNow? TopLeft right now works with ConnectWise Manage, or now called ConnectWise PSA, and Datto Autotask PSA. We don't integrate with ServiceNow. They do seem to have some of their own Kanban boards in there. So that's not really on a roadmap for the short term to work with. But certainly if you wanted to go from ServiceNow to a ConnectWise, maybe if ServiceNow is too big, I don't know if you want to go to Autotask or ConnectWise, yeah, then you could use TopLeft that way. Okay, so that was that one. All right, did I miss anything there, Bjorn? The poll results. Do we want to go through those?
Sure, why not? Just for fun, for giggles.
Yeah.
So let's see, let's share the results here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Green.
Go for it. Can you show those results?
I don't know if I can share results. Is that showing up?
Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, I think the results here, as far as the number of tickets, I mean, it totally varies on the organization, right? And the total number of tickets is completely relative to what is quote unquote the norm for you, and how you have your teams divided, right? So, but if you're sitting in the 50 to 100, for a smaller team, that might be a serious issue, right? But the main idea is, Judi and Steve both have zeroed in on no more than 3 in-progress tickets per team member that's working on that team. And I'm sure there are plenty of rules and business rules behind that. The concept is focus, right? Focus, 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 and make sure we're working on the most appropriate thing at the most and best time. So yeah. Wim, do you want to comment on anything on the other results?
I would say on that first one, yeah, it's the number of tickets they're working on, let's say today or at this moment, but a ticket that's waiting or scheduled or blocked or one of those other statuses, that's also still work in progress. We want to keep those all down and short. We don't want tickets waiting around in any sort of column.
Mm-hmm.
They flow through. So it can kind of be hidden parking lots as well, where we're hiding progress in a warehouse there, but it's still there.
They get lost in the shuffle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the hours on a ticket. I guess everyone has a horror story of a ticket that's been open for 3 years or more. I've had those, or a lot of time on it. And obviously we want to be breaking it down so people can grab a ticket and be done the same day. Break it down.
Break it down into small chunks, right? The old, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. Yeah, absolutely.
Very
cool.
Good. All right. Again, wonderful. Thank you, TGB, for sharing, for everyone for being here, and we will send out the recordings later. And I'll see you next time. We will be repeating this in the coming months. So not repeating this particular questions, but continuing the conversation, I should say. So I look forward to that. All right.
Awesome.
With that, I will wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
William.
you.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.